Thanks for staying with us on TVC Breakfast. Let's head into looking at top stories on Nigerian newspapers at this time. We have a host of papers to look at, beginning here in Nigeria, and then we'll dip in and see what's happening across the world. So we begin with The Punch this morning, and it's an update on, of course, preparations for the general election coming next year. 1 hour interview. It says PDP challenges Tinubu again. APC says Asiwaju will floor Atiku. Tinubu should subject himself to 1 hour interview, Atiku's camp insists. Of course, this has to do with the back and forth between the two presidential candidates of the ruling party and the main opposition, the PDP. Now to the blueprint. Now, a new video on abducted train passengers. Terrorists threaten President Buhari. El Rufai, torture victims, vow to slay some, sell others if federal government fails to pay ransom in 1 week. That's for Blueprint. And of course, this insecurity, worrying trends of insecurity also reflects on the lead story of Nigerian News Direct. Terrorists threaten to kidnap President Buhari, El Rufai and other politicians as FG declares threat as mere propaganda. Well, it remains to be seen, but of course the federal government still talking tough there against this war and security challenges. The Nation is next. It calls its big story security on red alert over threat to Buhari and El Rufai. Of course, it's about the train attack. Insurgents threaten to attack the president and the Kaduna state governor. That's the Nation. Kelly has some with him.
Well, Daily Trust is next. It stays with the big story in the past 24 hours. Kaduna train, how ransom blockade triggered hostage beating video. And presidency reacts as terrorists threaten to abduct Buhari, VP, and others. That's Daily Trust and the Kaduna train attack and the very trending video Nigerians are yet to recover from only 24 hours ago. This Nigeria gets our attention next. Insecurity, terrorists threaten to kidnap top politicians. Terrorists threaten to kidnap top politicians. Big threat for Nigerian politicians. Still referring to the video. There are threats for governors, senators. According to the terrorists, they are coming big for these persons in position of authority. And away from this Nigeria, the Daily Times is next. It says Abuja Kaduna train attack. Presidency reacts to terrorist video. Says defense forces are not clueless. They are not helpless. It's interesting to see the position of the presidency speaking out and speaking up for the defense forces, saying they are not clueless, they are not helpless. But they've been there for more than 1 year plus now. Nigerians would wonder, just how has the fight against insurgency and banditry been if these people are not clueless or helpless? Away from the Daily Times, the leadership newspaper gets our focus. It says as terrorists torture Kaduna train attack victims, presidency explains why the military can't carpet bomb forests now as terrorists torture Kaduna train attack victims. I think that word captures what these people are going through. It is indeed torture for many of these captives. Presidency explains why military can't carpet bomb forests now. First News is next. Away from the leadership, it says Nigeria may break up in 2024. The statement is accredited to Gani Adams, who is warning. He identifies worsening insecurity as a major pointer to impending doom. Nigeria may break up in 2024. Gani Adams warns the Adeyemo Kakanfo of Yoruba land. He identifies worsening insecurity as major pointer to impending doom. We do not pray for this. We do not wish this at all. And of course, away from a bit of insecurity, the Abuja Inquirer says House Sanitation team uncovered Abuja's biggest cannabis farm. House Sanitation team uncovered Abuja's biggest cannabis farm. The Abuja Inquirer says that's the major rider there for the Abuja Inquirer. Business Nigeria's next says new NNPC draws mixed bag of reactions. New NNPC draws mixed bag of reactions. Of course, Nigerians woke up to the news last week Tuesday about the fact that the NNPC has now been transitioned to a commercial entity. And of course, the reactions continue to trail that particular move, that particular privatization by the federal government. The national economy, the last year, it says fuel subsidy to go up 23 trillion naira in 17 years. Massive indeed, the national economy, fuel subsidy to go up 23 trillion naira in 17 years. Whoa.
All right, Kelly, away from Nigeria now, we go to the Middle East. Gulf News, Dubai-based newspaper, is leading with an update on the Russia-Ukraine war. Now it says Ukraine prepares to resume grain exports. Of course, we know how the Hydra-headed Russia-Ukraine war has, been not just having direct impact on within the areas now, but even internationally. Africa too bearing the brunt. Flour, wheat and oil, it is expensive, all traced to this war. Well, Ukraine is said to be preparing to resume grain exports now. We'll see how that plays out. Possibly a green light, everyone hopes. Now to the national newspaper. This is a UK-based daily. It says UN Security Council meets over Iraq resource shelling. UN Security Council meets over Iraq resource shelling. Yet another security concern, this time globally. All right, back here in Nigeria, we were talking a moment ago about the disturbing video that circulated yesterday up until this morning. Of course, reactions still trailing it. It's been rightly called. Nigerians have rightly reacted to it angrily. Of course, a feeling of helplessness. But a takeaway, or another takeaway for me, Kelly, was in that video, we also saw a woman who was more or less daring, confronting the terrorists, lambasting them, insulting them. The fact that, her spirit appeared not to be broken. Of course, one can imagine the kind of condition she would have been, what she would have even undergone before that moment. But her still finding a voice now to face her detractors, and telling them, shame on you, judgment is coming on you. I found that, really amazing. But of course, it doesn't, remove the dire straits that we are in as a country. And now to the president's reaction. Over time, we've of course heard president and security officials saying that they know where these people are, but attacking the terrorists would more or less lead to collateral damage, which the country or the government or its advisors are advising against. But, how then do we now rescue these individuals without government taking some more drastic measures than like or in line with what people are asking?
Kemi, I think barely 2 years ago, I don't know if it's up to 2 years, we heard that some Americans were kidnapped here in this country, and the American government sent a team of, I think, just 6 military officers. They came here without any announcement to anybody. We only heard that those that were kidnapped, I think somewhere in the northeast, I'm not sure if it's northeast or northwest region, but all we heard was that those Americans that were kidnapped had been rescued, not by the Nigerian government, but by the team of 6 persons from the American Navy or Marine or something. And I'm not sure any place was bombed. I'm not sure there was any explosion anywhere to rescue those persons. This is strictly intelligence, for crying out loud. We can't keep saying we don't want to bomb a forest. Nobody is saying you should even bomb the forest. But if you have to take that step, I mean, I think it was when Barack Obama was president, and we saw the televised operation of how it was Osama bin Laden that was arrested. We saw how the American government and its military officers went into action, and they had a very smooth operation with the president watching live. I saw it live many, many years ago. Look, that is no excuse for this particular administration, especially when the government came into power in 2015 under the grounds and the messiah figure of Mr. President, who is a military or retired military veteran. We had seen the incumbent president then as someone who was maybe not too strong enough, or maybe someone who is not too weak. Nigerians had labeled him names. So Mr. President came on the wings of the Messiah. In fact, it was another Jesus Christ, so to say, for many Nigerians. And it is interesting to see that almost 8 years after, we are still where we are, or we are back to where we are. Maybe this particular administration may argue that things are better, but if you have found yourself or your family member, I mean, because one of the reactions from Mr. President is, he also commiserated with the former national chairman of the PDP, Adeyemo, whose brother was killed by the terrorists, and whose sister has also been kidnapped. If you have family members who are going through, or who have gone through being kidnapped for just 5 days, let alone being in captivity for more than 100 days, and look at the video. I think the word is torture. The word is agony. The word is anguish. You can imagine people in such a very terrible condition. And then the presidency would tell Nigerians and the media to support the government. I'm wondering what else we need to do as the media. I'm wondering what else Nigerians need to do. But gradually, Kemi, let me just say this now. When you look at the motto of the Nigeria, under the coat of arms, it has unity and faith, peace and progress. Nigerians have gradually lost faith. We've lost faith in the government of the day. We've lost faith in the leadership. We've lost faith in the political class or elite. And we're gradually getting to the point where, I mean, even for people to describe themselves as being Nigerian is becoming a big blow. I mean, it's like some of us are not even proud to accept that
in spite of all these challenges, it's also, would I say, heartwarming, or, in spite of all this, we still have people who are hopelessly, given to the fact that we are better off united than being otherwise. I mean, look at somebody in the person of Gani Adams, a leader here in the Southwest now, who is even making some, dire predictions. While we do not, want to pander to that, but then it's just giving a sense of the growing level of discontent in the country as to the way things are handled. And, sometimes I believe that the security forces, even though they are, extremely stressed at the moment, I don't think we obviously don't have the capacity, or they don't have the capacity to withstand the enormity of the level of insecurity across the country. I mean, almost no state is immune. We've said over and over again, but then we need to keep talking. We need to keep urging the government, because we have the intelligence, we have the professionals, of course, but there seems to be a foundational problem, so to speak, that disables our security forces from pushing further. And now we look at, before we were calling them bandits, but these are, well, they can still be called bandits, but now they have assumed a more frightening dimension. They have support from elsewhere. There's still the speculation, and growing by the day, that there is even more support even within the system, the same system that was built to, be formidable against this marauders we have. There seems to be some level of sympathy, because how then do they happen to be at, specific areas at the moment when, people are passing by? And of course, the fact that they don't seem to now be the bane of regular Nigerians. We've even seen wealthy Nigerians who have, of course, been victims of these, brazen acts of insecurity. All right, yes. So what do we need to do now? That's a big question. That's a big question.
I was just going to say,
indeed.
Your last, your final words were the fact that some big Nigerians have been affected. Truthfully, the many millions of average Nigerians or common Nigerians will be happy As a matter of fact, when you look at even the threats to Mr. President and the likes of governors, including Rufai and senators, the average Nigerian who is back home will be saying, look, thank God the threats are also for those in power, those in government.
So they feel it.
And so they feel it. And we're just saying, just before we came on set, that look, perhaps if our leaders were not, if perhaps we're not entitled to the kind of security detail that they do have, maybe some of them would have fallen victims to what we have seen. Because, I mean, Mr. President's advance team, for instance, was attacked just a few weeks ago. So one can only imagine, what if these governors are not clustered around with security officers and all of that? What would have happened?